So here we are talking about the 8 worldly winds. This is a quote from the Buddha. Praise and blame, gain and loss, fame and disrepute, pleasure and sorrow come and go like the wind. To be happy, rest like a giant tree in the midst of them all. Rest like a giant tree amidst them all. The 8 worldly winds are natural. Situations will arise and we'll react to them. We'll take them personally. And in turn, we will feel the pain and the joy of them. But we can learn how to step out of the habit of reactivity and relate in a new way to the ups and downs that serve us up. The Buddha is offering an interesting way for us to relate to these ups and downs. He says, stand in the middle of the experience, or stand or orient toward the eye of the storm, to use another metaphor. Right? The eye of the storm, where it's a little calmer. I love the image that's conjured in the quote. I love the image of the tree. Rest amidst the extremes, it's suggesting. Learn to stand, to sit, to walk, to lie down like a tree in the forest, like a tree that has learned how to weather the storms by being in the storms, whether they're natural or man-made, in the wilds of Mother Nature. I read this and I immediately intuit the metaphor, that idea of like being settled in our place like a tree. I love trees. And they are such natural teachers for us about how to handle these worldly winds that we are going to keep encountering for the rest of our lives. They're not going anywhere. Again, these are naturally occurring experiences in the world that we live in. But trees demonstrate how to survive a storm. Thick trunks still bending and swaying, sometimes stooping over completely to the ground because of the weight of heavy snow on its bough. Sure, its trunks will bear the wear and tear, the scars of its brushes with death and pesky other little creatures. Sure, it'll lose limbs in the process, but its nature is to survive and thrive. The weight of the years measured in the expanding girth of that tree, of the trunk, the wrinkles, the peeling of the flesh, and the yielding to gravity as the weight sinks down in a vertical column, following the trunk in a vertical column all the way down into the ground. It sinks those roots down even firmer into the here now. The tree does not resist gravity. It yields with gravity too. So that sinking is the yielding with gravity. Yes, trees are strong and stable, but they have to also have give. They have to still be able to be strong, sturdy, and move, sway ever so slightly with the changing conditions. That's how they survive and thrive. They do not try to stop the wind. They do not try to capture it. They bend with and in accord with, and within their own nature. Trees that are able to stay rooted in the ground of the present moment for as long as they can remain healthy can withstand the elements of wind, rain, snow, and quake. They do this by yielding. They do this by their own natural conditioning to try to hold on and stay alive. Stand your ground is what it's saying. Come into and stand in the present moment. Physically keep rooting yourself in the present moment, in a body breathing. We're the tree. In whatever posture you're in, feel the ground underneath you. Stand your ground. Feel the body standing on the ground, sitting on the ground. Feel the ground underneath it. Feel walking and each footfall touching the ground as it walks. Feel breathing happening in this body. It's breathing. And the breathing and the body can keep us tethered to the present moment. Tether the breath when the mind has wandered away. We notice the mind has wandered away. We take a breath. We tether the breath We follow the breath back into the body, tether the breath to the body to the ground. Tether the breath to the body to the ground. So that when the seas are up, so that when the winds are up, we have a strong enough anchor, a stronger anchor than just the ephemeral breath that's trying to kind of stay present. It's grounded in a material form in a body, and that's such a support to us. This is the trunk. This is our trunk. But now, when we're secure on the ground, now we can bend. Look at this. I can sway back and forth. I can rock around. Even when I'm upset, I might be upset. I can rock around, go there, my darling. I can bend and move with my upset because I'm not rigid and stuck like a statue. I'm not a statue. I'm a living thing, just like that tree. And when the winds are up inside, I'm going to learn how to rock and breathe and hold my ground right here. That's what we're learning how to do in the presence of the winds of praise and blame, success and failure, pleasure and pain, fame and disgrace. Sure, we'll get knocked around. We're knocked around all day long, aren't we? A little bit here, a little bit there. Somebody says something to us, we get a little upset, right? Somebody says something nice to us, we get a little puffed up, we feel a little good about ourselves. This is how it is all day long. Now, tether the breath to the body to the ground. Stay grounded in a body breathing, move and sway and release. Let those currents move and release. This is following the way of the tree. This is following what the Buddha is suggesting. So right now, as we speak, we have this very old Norwegian maple in our backyard. It stands probably about 80 feet tall. The tallest in the neighborhood, the jewel of the yard, and it has been dying for some years now. This kind of tree actually was planted all over Boston at the turn of the century, at the turn of this century. And it was found to be too brittle and weak so that it broke during high winds and heavy snows. So a lot of the trees have fallen down or been cut down. Well, every few years, we've had to cut trim a few branches and arms off of the tree that's been eaten away by worms. I know it's dying. We know it's dying. Well, right now, as we speak, today and yesterday and probably tomorrow, the remaining limbs are being cut down as far as they can go because they're a danger now. And either way, when we cut it off, still the tree will survive in some form or another for as long as it lives. It will live for as long as it lives, and then it will go the way of all natural things, of everything. Everything must die, and so will this tree. But I really appreciate the hardiness of all of the storms that the tree has weathered, including one a few years ago, where honestly the house and the whole Boston was covered in 2 feet of snow. I was shoveling the roof of our house, and this tree has withstood all of these storms. It's magnificent, magnificent. So let's play around with this idea of being like a tree, because a tree doesn't take the weather personally. Things are going to happen. We're going to have reactions, but the tree does not take it personally. It doesn't resist the nature. It grows old, it dies, it weathers the storms as best as it can. It holds its ground and it sways around. So let's try to do that. Let's try to be like a tree, and let's let the trunk of the tree yield enough that when the storms are there, we allow it to breathe and move and release and settle down with gravity. And let the leaves rustle as the thoughts and moods go through the air of the branches. And stay grounded. Stay grounded.